What's up, guys? Welcome to Dare to Win, episode 8. My name is Finn Hodgins, and I'm your host. And today I'm here with Joshua Dillingham, or Josh Dillingham. Josh is the host of the Playing Injured podcast, who, like myself, was a former athlete with dreams of going pro, and he had to adjust to transitioning into the real world. And I'm super pumped to have Josh on the show to talk about that transition, along with a lot of other cool topics. So, what's up, Josh?
Man, Finn, what's going on? Me and Finn chatted before we hit record. He's like, Josh or Joshua? And I was like, my mom calls me Joshua. But, once you get into the show kind of zone, anything can happen. But glad to be here, Finn, here with your audience, your show, Dare to Win. Really love what you've been bringing to the show and the guests you've had on so far. And I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I was going to call him Josh. He said that Joshua was reserved for his family. But like he said, when you're in the zone, you're in the zone. So anyway, where are you from, Josh?
From Bolingbrook, Illinois, small suburb in Chicago. I'm actually living in Chicago right now. Currently, I work in the IT project management space as a Scrum Master. If you're in the IT space, you probably know what a Scrum Master is. If you don't, you probably don't know what a Scrum Master is. But essentially, I just oversee a few teams of software developers, and we help solve complex problems. And then outside of that, like Finn mentioned, I'm the co-host of the Playing Injured podcast. Me and my mentor and good friend, Mason Eddy. He was also a former athlete as well. We've been doing that since the beginning of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And it's very similar to Finn's show, all about going through adversity. How can we continue to grow, get better, even when tough times hit? But like I said before, originally from Bolingbrook, Illinois, small town, small suburb. And start off my journey playing basketball, man. And that's really all I knew. That's my identity. But I would say, Finn, actually, I really got my work ethic from my parents, right? They were entrepreneurs, still are. And my mom actually owns a hair salon. And my dad left the corporate world in his early 40s to actually go help run the salon. And that's what they did
Very
full
cool.
time. Right? But as a startup,
Okay, and was that in...
Go ahead.
Yep. So I was going to say, was that in the city of Chicago, or did you spend a lot of time in Chicago, or were you always in the suburb you mentioned?
I was always in the suburb, Bolingbrook. My first 18 years of my life, I was in Bolingbrook, right? And
very cool.
So yes, that was in Bolingbrook. That's what my parents did, and so actually, as a startup, it's expensive to hire employees. So what do most startups do if they have kids? For free, they get their kids to work. So I really learned that work ethic from cleaning, the bottom of salon chairs and sweeping floors and doing laundry and cleaning and understanding that really as an entrepreneur, especially in those early days as a startup, there is no days off. Sundays, Saturdays, everything was on the table. Now that I'm older now, I do get the chance to see my parents get to scale back, enjoy a lot of their time, and customize their lifestyle, kind of what I've heard you mention. And so from there, I've always seen myself as an entrepreneur, always seen myself doing more than a 9-to-5. And that's kind of where I find myself now.
Yeah, that's cool. And so you played sports growing up too. So talk about that. I'm sure everyone knows, at least my listeners know my story. I played sports since I was 6 years old. Huge part of my life. Basketball, baseball, football, eventually just evolved into baseball. I imagine Chicago was like Jersey City, if not better, highly competitive. So run through that for me. How competitive were you, I guess is the question I'm asking.
Oh my goodness, man. I was super competitive. I'm definitely not this smiley guy you see right now. I was I was a madman. I was a psycho, to put it frankly, like a lot of athletes are, right? But I think that was developed in this hub that we had, right? I have a lot of teammates who I played with growing up that are now in the NBA. I've had teammates who basketball teammates now who went to the NFL, and in that hyper competitive chamber, you are looking to gain the respect of your peers on a daily basis. And you being a former athlete, you probably know how that is, man. It's an ego. After you come in the locker room after practice, I got you today, man. or you got me, right? And constantly wanting to gain that result, that respect from your peers. And I think I was super competitive, man. I wanted to win.
Yeah.
I dared to win. Let's just say, hey, I did anything to dare to win, man. And man, I was super competitive. And I think it still boils over to my life today.
Yeah, were you playing, what is it, about AAU too? Or AAU kind of high school, like all the above? Was your high school a pretty competitive? Is that where you had the NBA teammates, or AAU, or both?
So both, actually. So played high school at Bolingbrook High School. We were really good. Sponsored by Jordan. Actually, the Jordan brand picked us up they actually, remember back in the day on MTV, they would like send these kids at a school a letter, like from this celebrity or whatever. That's what we got. We actually got a letter from Brands Jordan saying, hey, we're surprising you with a bus. We're going to take you to downtown Chicago. We're going to let you customize the shoe. That's how good we were. We were really good on our high school team, right? And then, so I did have an NBA teammate there. His name is Broderick Thomas. He actually plays for the Boston Celtics today. And then my AAU team was even better. My AAU team was crazy. So teammates that I had on there, Javon Carter, he was a point guard. He's now on the Milwaukee Bucks, backup point guard there. And then Jalen Brunson, who's on the Dallas Mavericks, who is playing amazing right now. He was also my teammate as well on AAU, Team NLP. And so, you know what I would say, actually, what I learned from those guys is, one, they weren't afraid of looking bad. They weren't afraid of looking too cool, right, for school. They weren't afraid of looking bad.
Yeah.
They really loved the game. They took it really serious.
Yeah.
They had a lot of focus. Focus was really key for them, right? And then, two, I learned a lot from them as well. I think a lot of folks, we have a huge ego when we work with somebody that has a really strong skill set, or we're running a company with somebody that has a really strong skill set. Why don't we ask these folks, hey, I admire this kind of quality about you and what you do. I would love to learn that from you. Can I get some time with you to learn that?
Yeah.
Right? And so
I think
I did that all the time.
Yeah, that's smart. And in the real world, there's such an abundance of success out there, where I think a lot of people have this false thing where they see someone else doing good and they think for some reason that's taking from their pie. So they maybe wish that person doesn't do as well because they think they're not going to be able to do good if that person does good too. When the reality is, like, just rooting for everyone to succeed does something else to you, and it makes you that much. It's energy. It's kind of what you put into the world that's going to come right back to you. So sorry, that was just a little tangent, but kind of going off what you talked about.
Go on your tangent, man. You're right on point right there, man. You're right on point.
Yeah, it's funny because growing up, the players I played with who ended up making it very far, I'm a little younger than you, so still high-level Division I. I'm going to get drafted soon for baseball. They all had this very interesting demeanor about them. Focus was definitely one of them. Preparation was another one. And then there was this level of calmness, almost like they knew they were going to win. Like pressure hit them so differently than it hit everyone else. Like the way their relationship with nerves or fear, they were just different. Like it was a much smoother ability for them to handle pressure. That was something I always noticed. And now it's funny because all those people who had that ability to stay calm when there was pressure, they're all in the league or about to be there. 100%. And it's just funny seeing 100%. That. Yeah.
Finn, you know what else is calm? Calmness is confidence, right?
Yeah.
Confidence is not just how you appear. I think a lot of people think like, oh, that really extroverted person that's always talking and always making the most noise is the most confident, as opposed to that person that's really poised, really calm.
Poised.
They don't
Big
feel
word.
They were poised. They were confident.
Yep.
They knew that no matter what they were going to do the action. They were going to step up to the plate. Baseball reference. And they were going to swing and understand that no matter if they strike out or they hit a home run, it's going to be okay. And you got to step up to the plate again. Right? And so that calmness, that's real confident, knowing that, hey, I'm going to be okay no matter if I strike out or hit a home run. I got to come back to the plate again anyway. So,
yeah, it's
100%.
funny. It's a different relationship with the outcome. I think the people who aren't as poised in those situations, they fear outcomes they make up in their head, and they forget that they're going to get to step up to the plate again. Like you just said, they don't fake pressure. I think there is real pressure in real life, but I think the problem is a lot of people 10x that pressure, and they make it seem like it's a million times more serious than it is, when in reality you're going to be able to step right back up maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, but it's never the end. 100%. So yeah, that's really interesting. And so what do you think, for you, being around all those people, besides the mindset stuff you picked up from them, like what did it do to you? Like how did it make you want to be?
It made me want to be like them. It made me want to have that confidence and that poise. It made me want to be a little bit more focused on my day-to-day. Yeah. It made me not care how people thought about me. I had a goal, and I wanted to achieve the goal. And it's okay if people misunderstand you. Javon, one of my teammates, he used to run stairs with Timberland boots, right? These big, blocky boots. He used to run the bleachers.
That's a New York thing.
Right, yeah. And so do you think people laughed at him? Right?
Yeah.
You think people say, oh, he's weird? Because they were projecting, oh, I should be doing that as well. I should be working out and doing something like that as well. But now, to make me feel better, I'm going to laugh at him to make him look stupid instead of making me look stupid, right? And so as entrepreneurs, as athletes, as a high achiever anyway, you're going to have to get laughed at when you know that you're focused on what you want to do and you're actually being intentional about the things that you want to do. You know, there's people out there that's going to laugh at you for eating salad. I know you probably sit at the table with some bros and they all got cheeseburgers and they're all enjoying life, and you come and you got a salad, Finn. And they're probably like, Finn, come on, man. You eating a salad? Come on, man. But hey, you're focused on your goals.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, you're right. It's tunnel vision, and it's funny. Yeah, people would say all types of things about you really do have to be okay with what other people say. I remember there was Minka Fitzpatrick's his name. He's a Pro Bowl safety or cornerback. I don't know what he's playing in the NFL. He played everything in high school. He went to my high school. And the types of rumors kids would have, because he was very focused. Like, he did his thing. Obviously, everyone wanted to talk to him, whatever. He was so tunnel vision. He was a great kid, but he was focused. And people would make all types of things up about him, like he would never socialize, or like he's crazy because he's spending too much time in the gym, like he needs to get a life, right? And, of course, he's now a Pro Bowl NFLer. So it's the willingness to sacrifice, and it's not folding when other people kind of clamp down. Because I'm sure he knew what people were saying like that. And the reason other people were saying that was fear. They're like, shoot, this guy's probably doing the right thing, right? Like, maybe I should be doing that. But for some reason, people have this weird innate thing where they want to pull other people back. And I think that goes back to what we were saying before. If you just shift that mindset, and instead, if you said, wow, maybe I should do that, or how can I focus like him, what do you think that's going to do for you, right? So wishing success on people and attracting that energy will take you a lot further.
Yeah, you mentioned that before. It's like the just knowing that it's going to be infinite resources for everyone.
Infinite,
and so it's infinite. It's no shortage, right? There's too many people out here for shortages, right? And your success helps me become successful. Everybody's successes actually helps you see that you can be successful as well. And so when you want to pull others down, you have to look at yourself and say, hey, I'm thinking too small, right? Mm-hmm. The magic of thinking big is understanding that, hey, this is kind of a long-term thing, and we can all be successful. And and it's not our fault either, because we did grow up in sports where it can only be one winner, right? We do grow up in the school system where it can only be one valedictorian, right? And so it is that it can only be one kind of mindset, right?
Right. Interesting.
And so we don't realize that, hey, we can all win. We can all win. And we just have to kind of unwire that thinking that we program to think.
It's a perspective shift. That's one of the things you have to adjust when you leave sports and go into the real world, air quotes around real world. And I will say, kind of going back to that though, it is a blessing being in sports, especially in a highly competitive, Jersey City or Chicago, where you're around people who end up making it so far, because you truly like it. Regardless of whether you're jealous of them or if you're supporting them, it is going to push you to be better yourself. So that's why I'm always so thankful for sports, is because there's always going to be someone better than you. Yeah. Even if you're a 5-star recruit, like you're going to play another school with a 5-star recruit and they're going to say he's better. So there's always this next level of competition that you want to pull to. I think a lot of times in the world of not sports, people lose that competitiveness, which is healthy. And competitiveness can sometimes be frowned upon. You obviously want to be honest and respectful with it. But in life, I think when people lose that competitive nature, they also lose themselves. That's why I think a lot of times athletes going into the real world it's hard at the beginning because they think that now they can't be competitive, right? That was at least something that I felt for my first few years just transitioning. And so I'd love to talk about some of the things that you had to adjust to. You talk about identity crisis, so I'd love for you to just talk about that.
Yeah. Finn, growing up where I grew up, the only way to really create significance was through the sports world, right? And so my identity was like basketball. Everything I did was basketball. Every single day, it was, how can I get better at basketball? You know what I'm saying? So you go to the gym, all of your friends played basketball or some other sport. Your training is just constant, right? And those are your habits every day. And so what I realized after the sports world was that, hey, I've been putting myself in this box of I can only be a good basketball player. But what I didn't realize that I was building all these different skill sets from being an athlete that could carry over to being an amazing professional, an amazing entrepreneur, an amazing family man, future husband, future father, right? And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to understand, hey, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel like I'm lost? And how can I turn it around? Main thing I tell people when it comes to your identity is that your habits and your behaviors create that identity. And so what I realized is that because I was playing basketball every day, because I was doing these different things, my identity was a basketball player. So in order to shift the identity, I had to shift the habits, right? So with that became, hey, what do I really enjoy? What I knew was my favorite thing about basketball was inspiring others, inspiring my teammates, letting them know, hey, I believe in you, right? I'm your number one cheerleader, and I also want to help others after me do better than what I did. So I said, hey, I can shift that. So in my career in IT project management, I oversee software developers where I'm constantly giving them reassurance, constantly giving them confidence, making sure they grow, making sure they get better. And then outside of that, what I realized that, man, it's a lot of people in life right now, they go through pain. And I can see it all over social media. I can see it all over my friendships in the real world. It's a lot of pain going on, man. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of people who are crying out for love. No matter what you see, Finn, there's people out there that cry out for attention, for love, and they need it, right? And so what I want to do is take a different path and be that remedy for them. Of, hey, I got you. And I want to get information from the brightest minds in the world, and I want to give this information to you. It's not about me being famous or being the biggest podcast in the world. I think that comes with me actually being pure and just really wanting to help add value to people. And so I do that in all different phases of life now. And so my habits now are reading, is listening to positive podcasts, researching different entrepreneurs and what their path is and how they got to where they are today. And so my habits are different. I'm not playing basketball anymore. Matter of fact, I play basketball very rarely because it makes me extremely sore now. But main thing I want to just tell people is that everybody has an identity shift.
Yeah.
Your parents aren't the same people they were when they were 25, right? My parents aren't.
No.
I will be a different person when I'm 45. And so the different things is that, hey, we're okay. We just have to continue to adjust and understand what's really important to us and how we can grow in those different aspects.
Mm. Yeah, dude, that was powerful, especially, and you mentioned one thing where you talk about you stopped playing basketball, and so you were playing it your whole life every day, and you sort of lost that, and you thought that everything about basketball was over. And then you said you realized you could bring the lessons from basketball into things even like fatherhood. And I think a lot of people, they don't realize that when you stop playing basketball, that doesn't mean everything about the sport is done. The only thing that's done is dribbling the ball and playing, 5-on-5 again with a referee, right? There are so many things that you can still bring through the rest of your life from the game into angles of your life that most people don't even think about. Fatherhood, relationship with your parents, career, anything. And so what are some of those attributes that you think you got from basketball that you still had to remind yourself that, hey, I'm not done. Like, I still am that same person, and that skill was valuable to build.
Yeah, and the main thing was relationships, right? Is as a basketball player, what I did a lot was I really watered all of my relationships with my teammates, right? I didn't just do the bare minimum, man. I wanted to know exactly who they were, what they were going through, what made them tick, right? And so Finn, I actually came across this, right? In men's health, right? Our long-term health is actually correlates to our relationship with other men, our friends.
Well, we're right? Tribal. We're not like you look at history. Yeah, you look at history. I mean, men are tribal beings. Like we're supposed to be in groups of 10, 15, 100 other men, like brotherhoods. Like that is how we've evolved over time. Like that's facts.
Yeah, and so how many of us actually put effort into our friendships? Like seriously, right? And our family, right? I actually put some real, like, hey man, you important to me. I really, our friendship is very important to me, and this is how I'm displaying it, right? And so I don't think men do that enough. And so in sports, we do that all the time, man. You hug your teammates all the time. You cheer them on all the time, right? When was the last time you actually cheered on one of your friends for an opportunity that they did, right? Or something big? When was the last time one of your friends did that to you? Right? And so I think that's something that I learned from the sports world, just relationships. And I think relationships are one of the biggest things that determine our happiness and who we are as people, right? But kind of some real technical things, right, is preparation. Finn, you had to prepare. And me being a podcaster, I've prepared for podcasts and I haven't prepared for podcasts, especially as the interviewer, right? It goes very different if you prepare and you don't prepare. It can go very different, right? You prepare for the week, right? I think your week will go totally different if you prepare for it or if you don't. And one thing I've learned, right, when it comes to preparing for your life or your week, you're planning your week out, right, is, hey, what is your goal for this year? What are the top 5, top 3 desires that you have?
Yeah.
The intention, right? The intentions of, hey, if I want a 6-pack by the end of the year, well, you need to be eating healthy, you need to be working out, and that needs to be in your calendar every day. Hey, I want to get debt free. What are some different things you're putting in your calendar that's going to get you debt free? Either you're making more money, paying off debt, either you're saving money, whatever the case may be. What is your plan, right? And so you need to have that intention to that desire in your calendar every single day. And so that's some things that I've learned mainly.
Yeah, I mean, intention's huge. I think, well, first off, back to the brotherhood thing. Most athletes I've spoken to, just friends of mine, like the thing we miss the most is like the bus rides.
Yeah.
Something as simple as just hanging out with your boys and real talk. Like you do lose that in adulthood, and it's sad. It's a shame because I think men, for some reason, grow out of it because they think it might be weak or just a high school, college phase, or life takes over to the point where it shouldn't. And they lose that. So what you just said was powerful, and I think even for myself personally, like I'm always in a way better state of mind when I'm around homies, right? Obviously,
around the homies.
And it's just like it has to happen. And then on the preparation thing, you said intention. I think in sports, intention is such a big way when you practice. Like you know that when you go shoot 1,000 free throws, your intention is you want a higher free throw percentage throughout the year. Like I think in the real world, people go through the motions without intention. And that's something that you need to pull. Like whenever you do something, there should be intention behind it, or else you're probably just spinning your wheels. And so that I like totally agree with you. And like preparation, everything.
Yeah.
Now, what about, no, I love this. So how about toughness? We talked on it a little bit at the beginning, but obviously isn't easy. It never goes the way you want it to. And sports are definitely not easy. And I always feel a little bad for people who never went through sports because you definitely get forced to be tough. What parallels do you see there?
Yeah, if you think about this visual of somebody being tough, right? We think about the Rocky Balboas, right? What do we admire most about Rocky Balboa? What would you say we admire most about Rocky Balboa?
He gets back up when he gets hit. He doesn't back down. You punch him in the face 10 times, he'll stand right back up. Yeah, he keeps going.
Exactly. And so when we think about toughness is that ability to rebound, right? When something bad happens to you, when something inconvenient happens to you, no matter how big or how small, how can we bounce back, right? And so we talk about mental toughness. Talk about toughness. It's that ability to not let the small things get to you. I heard a quote that says, small things affect small minds. And so we have to grow. Right? And so toughness is getting back up, that rebound time. How fast can you get back to neutral? Right? Something negative happens to you. You may not be positive all the time. It's hard to say, Finn, I'm the best ever, yada, yada, yada. Everything's okay. No. That's unrealistic. But how can we get to neutral, right? Trevor Moawad, I don't know if you heard of him, but he's the mental conditioning coach for Russell Wilson, recently passed.
Tim Grover? Oh, no.
No, Trevor Moawad.
Okay, I haven't heard of him, no.
He's really big in the mental conditioning space. He was Russell Wilson's mental conditioning coach. He founded a company called Limitless Minds, and he has a book. Cool. He has a book called Getting to Neutral is the second book he had. And then for some reason, I cannot remember the book, but I got it in the library over here. His first book, one of my favorite books, and it's crazy that I can't remember the title. I'm blanking. But it's pretty much all about, hey, how can we get back to neutral? We may not be positive all the time. It's tough. But, hey, if we can't be positive because everything is really negative, how can we get back to that neutral mindset? Right. And what is that neutral mindset? That toughness is, hey, what do I need to do today? I need to just focus on sending these emails out. The next step of the day, I need to just focus on going to the gym. Let's focus on going to the gym. I'm having a bad day, but hey, let me just focus on the next task, right? And not allow all these extra things that I can't control to get in my way. And so toughness is just your ability to get back to neutral and continue to get back up.
Yeah, and to push through adversity. I would say the difference between people who don't achieve the success they want and people who are highly successful is typically their ability to navigate adverse times or difficult times. You look at the best athletes in history, adversity didn't faze them. You look at the most successful entrepreneurs, adversity didn't faze them. And that is the key. Most people, it's the same thing as a relationship with fear. It's a relationship. And when you feel the adversity, some people look at it as adversity and it can be very crippling. Some people look at it as an opportunity. continue to grow, because obviously pressure makes diamonds. And I think it's just a relationship you have with the scenario that I think it can either be very daunting and crippling or freeing in a way, because it'll just present itself as an opportunity. And I think that is literally a very exact parallel to sports and life. So I know you talk a lot about mental fitness. So what does mental fitness mean?
Yeah, 100%. And the book title came to me because I want people to read it. It's called It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moe.
It Takes What It Takes.
It Takes What It Takes. And that's a book that it's a must read for anybody that's looking to grow their mental toughness. And when you talk about the mental fitness state, right, Finn, when it comes to fitness, the more you actually work out, the less sore you feel day to day, right? So, you're working out often. After a while, it gets to a point where, hey, you rarely ever get sore if you work out consistently, right? And so mental fitness is very similar to that thinking, is your recovery time when things aren't going good, right? And so mental fitness is really how I've brought the athletic world and actually giving people a way to actually grow in that toughness muscle, right? How can you grow and how can you become tougher? How can you not let negativity actually hold you back? And so 2 things to mental toughness that I want people to keep in mind. We have, and I had a really good friend, he's really big in the mental health space. His name is Mark Metry. And he talks about software and hardware, right? And so bear with me while I explain what this is. But our hardware, you think about an iPhone 1, right? That is our brain, the actual brain, the biochemistry of it. If we treat our brain like crap, that's not getting proper sleep, not drinking enough water, not exercising, and eating terrible food, obviously we won't be able to operate right. The latest iOS software version won't work on an iPhone 1, right? So that's the biochemistry of it, right? We have to treat ourselves great. That's sleeping, getting 8 hours of sleep, drinking the proper amount of water, eating the proper foods that are good for our gut that is connected to our brain. And then also to exercise, right? And so that's the biochemistry of the brain, right? Making sure we got that down. That will be half the battle of making sure that we are growing our mental state. But we also have the software. That's the mind, right?
Yeah.
That is the books we read.
Got it.
That is the podcast we listen to. That is the inputs that we have daily. That's the meditation, the journaling, the actually going out and doing action when you're scared, you're nervous, you don't feel like it, breaking these barriers. And so I wanted to break those 2 down because both of those play hand in hand. Let's say you are reading, you are doing different things that are growing your mind, but you're sleeping 2 hours a day, not drinking a good amount of water, not exercising, eating crappy food. All that mental conditioning that you're doing, reading all those great books, all that great information is not going to help you as it should. Vice versa, hey, sleeping great, doing great things, but you're listening to a bunch of trash, news, things that a lot of negativity, negative self-talk, all this constant negative stuff, you're going to feel like crap. So we have to be able to focus on both sides of things. And how can we grow our mind? And it's a practice. Listen, reading, growing our self-image, listening to positive podcasts, that also grows our self-image. Constantly putting positive things into our mind, that's what's going to grow. And it's something that we need to do daily.
Yeah.
Right? Or you might miss a day, but you got to get back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and negative self-talk's a big one because people, you can control how you think. And I think, I have this, it's like a 5-minute rule. If I'm really feeling crappy, I'll let myself feel crappy for 5 minutes because sometimes it feels nice to let yourself feel crappy, right? No one's Superman. No one can feel negative and then be like, all right, positive. But I give myself 5 minutes and then I'm like, all right, let's get back to ground zero. And I think there's two things to that. One is what you tell yourself is how you feel. Negative thoughts are very cancerous, which means that they'll grow. So if you keep feeding yourself negative thoughts, it's going to be harder to think positively, and vice versa. If you keep feeding yourself positive thoughts, it's going to be easier to think positive, and you're going to radiate as a positive person. Therefore, you'll attract positive people, and vice versa if you're negative. The second thing I think is very important to understand with what you said is negativity happens. Crappy situations happen. You can't think that you're not going to get smacked in the face or you're not going to feel like crap. Like, that is human. So it's important to not react negatively to a negative situation, because then you're doubling down on that negativity. I think a lot of people, they feel when something negative happens, they play the victim of why is this happening or why do I feel this way, instead of just chilling out, taking a breath and like dissecting it, right? Because that's what I mean. Like Michael Jordan, he had negative things happen. He had adversity. Kobe Bryant, same thing. The most successful entrepreneurs, their response to it wasn't amplifying it. They knew how to take it and live with it and beat it. And I think it's just important for people to understand, because some people have this mindset that negativity or bad things shouldn't happen, or that they can like stop them from happening. That's not true. Like you got to get used to that. It's life, right? 100%. So it's having, like you say, the mental fitness to recover and win regardless of what happens. Yeah.
And it's so important. Mental fitness, I think, is so important, and the older I get, the more important I learn about it and get into it. And the reason why is because negative almost happens automatically, almost like a garden. Weeds grow in our mind. Weeds grow. That negativity grows. That doubt grows, because that's how we were wired in our ancestral years. We had to think negative because that was more helpful than always being positive, right? We had to be negative.
Right.
That rock, it protected us. We had to survive. We were in survival mode. It's survival of the fittest. So naturally, we had to think negative about everything. So now, we're still wired that way, where we think negative about everything. And so, since we're built like that as humans, it's very important that our daily inputs are positive, right? And so, I think it's key. 100%.
Yeah, and understanding that those are just thoughts. It's not necessarily reality.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like I think it's very important for people to understand human potential and like biologically how we're rooted, because that is why like certain things happen in our body. Same thing with cortisol and managing stress. Like same thing with when you feel anxious, it means you have to take action on something or stuff like that. Like it's very important things people should know. And with that comes the ability to then take a step back and be okay with certain emotions. Like you just said, negative thoughts. If someone understands they're natural and biological, they're not going to freak out or think that they're a negative person, because the problem becomes when someone labels themselves as negative. Therefore, it makes it much more difficult for them to flip the switch and be positive and to input that. So I love how you're talking about all that, and it's refreshing to hear you talk about that. And also, before you mentioned pillar number 1 being sleep, a healthy gut, healthy brain. People overlook self-care. When your body, you get one, and you're not going to perform at a high level if you don't feel good. I always think all the time, I don't believe when I see things like ex-entrepreneur slept 4 hours a night for 3 years. Like, I don't buy it. And the reality is that you got to think clear, right? You have to be sharp, and it's vital. So I wanted to talk about the name of your podcast, Playing Injured. By the way, this is a fire conversation, Josh. Like I'm thinking
I'm enjoying it, man. I told you it's gonna be fun, right? And that's what I want to do, is have fun with you, because So I'm gonna tell you kind of the origin of Playing Injured and how it all started, actually. So Mason, really, he's an entrepreneur in heart. He's retired his wife at 27. He's currently 32, 33. Excuse me. But he was coming to do a keynote in Chicago, right? And so me just taking the initiative, being stepping up to the plate, not caring if I strike out or if I hit a home run. I said, hey, do you mind if I get some time with you before your keynote? at a nearby coffee shop. He said, yeah, here, I got this amount of time. Let's do it. Sat down with him, chatted about my life, my goals, desires, chatted with him, learning all about different things that I admired about entrepreneurs as itself. And he's like, hey, we both have similar stories, and I think you should start a podcast. And I was like, me? He's like, yeah, I think it'll help you grow in your communication, help you build a strong brand. I think you have the people and the network where you could interview some folks and get some real good content out. But more importantly, you can add value to others. And I was like, okay. So I was real nervous about it, but he was like, and I'll do it with you. And so together we were looking to come up with a name, and me and him had similar stories. We were talking about how, hey, I broke my thumb, right? And I did everything I tried to do to get back into the game. I didn't allow this broken thumb to hold me back. I'm like, no, I'm getting back in the game. I have to try my best to get back in the game. My trainer's like, hey, man, unfortunately, you just can't do it. We can't allow you to go back in the game. It took everything in my power not to get me out there. He had a similar story. He had 12 stitches in his head, concussion. He bandaged it up. He still went out there and played, right? And so we were like, man, most athletes and a lot of athletes think like this, right? Where we want to keep playing no matter the injury, no matter the odds that are against us. Matter of fact, we actually get stronger with that. Actually, when we want to create our hero story, man, I went out there with a broken arm or a broken ankle, and I went out there and I played, and I still succeeded with that, right? And so Playing Injured was born. We said, hey, let's call it Playing Injured, and let's see how can we transcend these stories to real life, right? So many times now it's like, oh, I'm tired. I'm not going to get up early. Oh, let's close the computer early. I'm tired. Oh, my back hurt. I can't go to the gym. Or my head hurts. I can't shoot this podcast today. It's the smallest things now in real life that we tell ourselves excuses that we should be able to continue to persist and do these intentions that's going to help us get our desires. But instead, we allow those things to get in the way. But how about if we took that same mindset of not allowing 12 stitches in your head to keep you back from playing, or that injured thumb where you did everything in your power to try to play in that game? How can we take that mindset and bring it into real life? That resilience, that ability to see that when you're compromised to some degree, see it as a challenge. This is a challenge for me. And if I'm able to get through the day with a migraine or a headache, I can get through anything, right? And so I'm not telling you to overdo it, right? But it's just this ability of how can you challenge yourself to be resilient when you know you can't be, right? And so that's where Playing Injured was born.
Yeah, that's fire, and it really does come down to how bad do you want it. I think that's the case with anything, right? It's with athletes. They'll do anything to win. That's what I was talking about, Dare to Win. It's how bad do you want it? And I talked about this with you when we were chatting, but the beautiful thing I think with entrepreneurship in real life compared to sports is in sports, there's a lot of outside factors that can come into play with you making it, right? Making it typically means making the league, professional in whatever sport. Natural talent, injuries growing up, coaches you have, who you played against, whatever that may be. And so you could be the hardest worker, you could want it really bad, and unfortunately, like, you still might not make it. Whereas I truly believe in entrepreneurship. If you just keep going and you are willing to just put in that work and you want it, you're going to make it. Like, because success is defined as so many different ways, and you get to create what the success is defined as. So it's not just making the professionals. You literally create what your definition of it is, but you're going to find it. Yeah. Because it's all in your hands. The ball is completely in your court. And that's why I love entrepreneurship. That's why I love everything you said. And that's like my number one message I want to give to people is just go. Like, you just figure, like, because if you just keep showing up every day and you want it, you should feel pretty good because you're going to get it. It's almost like this, it's comforting. As long as you're doing things that keep you uncomfortable, like, that's what I always say. When I do things that make me uncomfortable, at heart, I feel comfortable because I know the result of pushing myself through those is going to be success. Maybe it's going to be in 5 years, maybe 15, maybe 5 months. It's going to come, though. And I've seen that in my like early entrepreneurship career, in the home runs I have hit. It's just been because I've wanted it, literally,
Yeah,
and been willing to wait.
People, Finn. First of all, I love the name of the podcast, Dare to Win, right? Because there's a few things that come to mind when I think of it, right? And one thing is that a lot of people in life, especially post sport, or they never were in sport, and now they're in their career, they go through their day not even looking to win, right? They're looking to just not lose. They're not necessarily daring to win. They're just looking to not lose, right? I don't want to look bad. Most people go into a presentation with the mindset of, oh, I hope I do well because I don't want to look bad, versus, hey, I want to crush this. I want to actually add value, right? I want to win, right? And so my question to a lot of people in the audience, I have a mentor who asked me this. He said, are you winning? He said, are you winning? Whatever desires that you wanted and these intentions that you're letting out, are you winning? Are you playing not to lose? But are you actually winning? People are attracted to winners, right?
Yeah.
The team who you cheer for the most, right? If they're winning, they talk about bandwagons, right? Because they're winning. People are attracted to winners. If you're losing, they really don't think about you. Maybe the true people who are there for you, they'll be there, but they're not actually attracted to the loser. They're attracted to the winner, right? The Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago is not too far from Milwaukee. Now it's a bunch of Milwaukee Bucks fans here in Chicago, and it's like, where did you guys come from? But those same fans, if Chicago Bulls start winning, they'll start to love the Bulls too, right? All right, so are you winning? Are you winning? Are you winning? Are you daring to win? That's what we're talking about, because winning attracts others. Finn, right now, hey, you just started your podcast. You probably got really good friends who are out there who haven't congratulated you yet, haven't really acknowledged the podcast yet. Some of your closest friends. Hey, this is my story, right? And when you have a top 100 podcast one day and you're doing really well and you're interviewing some of the top thought leaders in the world, I want you to see how most people start to get attracted to you because you're winning, right? It comes with time, and people are attracted to winners. That's the main thing I want to say. Dare to win. Don't go through life to not looking not to lose, not looking to go to the first date and say, hey, I hope they like me. I hope I don't look bad. No, I'm about to have a great first date, right? Or this presentation, I'm about to crush this presentation. I'm crush it. I'm daring to win. So that's why I love the podcast. I think it's an important message, man.
I appreciate it, and I feel the same way about yours. And I think the biggest parallel is that everything comes down to a perspective shift, which is mindset, where, like, an example would be, don't try not to lose, try to win. And when you guys listen to this podcast or go back and listen, or I'm sure when you listen to Josh, you'll be able to see a bunch of things in life that happen to everybody, but what your view on them and your perspective on them is what's going to determine the outcome. So, Josh, it was a pleasure having you. Where can people find you?
No, man, I don't want to stop. I want to keep going. No, I'm just kidding. Folks, no, you can find the podcast Instagram is just plain injured on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram. And to be honest with you, I don't even know my username on Instagram. I think it's _j.deal. Follow that. And then, man, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and I love LinkedIn, and I think it's a lot of folks who are doing really well. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Josh Dillingham. It's not Joshua. That's reserved for my mom. But
I made that mistake already.
No worries. We got a lot of respect between the two of us. But yes, feel free to reach out to me. Main thing I really enjoy doing, Finn, is I like to sit down with folks, and I love to hear, hey, what is their journey? Where do they see themselves? What are their desires? And if I can open up doors that can help them get to those future goals or that future desired state that they have, I would love to help them out in any way possible. So feel free to connect with me, say hi, and we can have a great conversation, talk about how great Finn's podcast is.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you, Josh. All those links are going to be in the description. Like Josh and I said, dare to win, and don't be afraid to play injured.
100%. I love it, Finn.